All right, welcome to this final day of January 2023. It has been the longest month I can recall in a long time. I don't know if it's been the cold weather or what, but January has just dragged on, it feels like. Anyways, this year I'm going to be starting something new. I'm going to be doing a monthly recap. So at the end of every month, I'm going to be releasing information on what's going on in the real estate market, what's going on with regards to mortgage rates, kind of what do I predict is going to happen in the month or months ahead as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. Um, Starting off with Happy New Year. I hope it's the same thing as a wedding gift where you're better off being the first person to the door or the last gift through the door, in which case I'm definitely the last gift through the door. Hope it's the same thing. Happy New Year. What we noticed in January, consistently so, is that the first week of the month, very, very quiet. People are wrapping up the holidays. They're putting away their decorations. They're recalibrating. They're getting over their champagne-induced hangover. And then starting the second week, people start to set goals for the year. They start to set New Year's resolutions, goals for the year. And oftentimes one of those goals is, I want to buy a house. So we start to notice the phone ringing more often starting the second week of January. And that's certainly been the case this year. A lot more mortgage applications, a lot more kind of just general inquiries like, hey, I think about might buy a house this year, just trying to get my ducks in a row. What do I need to do to get that accomplished? Anecdotally, a lot of the inquiries I've been receiving, and I know it's anecdotal, but a lot of the inquiries I've been receiving have been March, April, May timeframe. So it seems like a lot of people are going to be entering the market in that spring season, early summer season. And when they do so, they're going to be entering the market at the same time. Okay, that's going to be competitive. And it's going to be a very tight market for a couple of reasons. Number one, record low inventory. So starting in July of last year, we noticed this downshift happen in the market. And it wasn't so much that there was a downshift. If you ask any real estate professional, they'll be like, yeah, not shocked that we had a downshift. It was when we had a downshift. We saw a downshift in July, which is usually right when things start to really get really hot. So that part was a little bit perplexing to a lot of real estate professionals. But the market had been so hot for so long, again, maybe it's not that surprising. But you might think that, hey, when the market downshifted, there was just too much inventory. That's simply not the case. We actually have far too little inventory. We have far too few homes in the market currently. Across the entire country, there's only 2.9 months of supply of existing homes, so resale homes. And if you take into account those that are already under contract, it's honestly only about 2 months. A balanced market has closer to like 4, 5, 6 months. So we have at the minimum half the inventory we need, and I would argue quite a bit less than that. Also, what we're seeing is improving interest rates. At the very beginning of January 1st, rates were around 6.5%. Some assumptions baked in there: single family home, 95% loan to value, 740 plus FICO score, conforming loan amount, but around 6.5% for a 30-year fix. Today, 6.125%. So mortgage rates have indeed been improving. And then we've also been seeing record low mortgage delinquency. A lot of people thought, due to the pandemic, all this talk about a recession, that we were going to start to see more and more loans becoming delinquent. That's simply not been the case. Loans 90 days or more delinquent is at 1.2%. Foreclosures are at 0.3%. And that's only accounting for finance transactions. People that own their house free and clear that don't have a loan, obviously they don't have to worry about this at all. So we're talking about a very, very small portion of the mortgages that are actually delinquent. Since there's no foreclosures, since there's no short sales, since rates are improving, since we have record low supply, since builders are struggling to keep up, it's making for a very, very tight market. And we're probably going to see, similar to what we saw last year in spring, kind of a lot of competing going on. Multiple offers on homes, appraisal gaps being offered. It's going to be a very tight market when all those people kind of enter the market simultaneously. I think we're just going to notice more volatility. We're going to be a little more like California's market, where you have a few really, really good months and a few quieter months, and then a few really, really good months. We're just going to notice more volatility as things kind of go on. One big theme for the last, honestly, about 5 months now, is that inflation has been improving. It's great news. Now, there's a lot of different inflation metrics you can watch. Producer price index is one that the Fed really likes. I personally like consumer price index. It measures inflation as you and I, us consumers, feel it. So inflation has improved 6 to 6.5% year over year. That's down from a high of 9.5%. So the Fed has already shaved off 3% on their inflation that they've been trying to do. Now, when you look at inflation, What's important is what today's numbers are. What were the inflation figures in January? Well, that figure actually came in at minus 0.1% for the CPI. But equally important, if not more so, is what was inflation doing a year ago? Because when you look at year-over-year numbers, when one report gets added, another report falls off. So when we look at what inflation was doing in, starting in June 21 through September of 2022, we see a lot of really hot inflation numbers, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6, 0.6, consistently high figures, very, very warm inflation figures. And when we look at what we're going to be replacing ahead, well, 0.5% figure in February, okay, a quieter figure in March, but then again, really hot figures, April, May, June, August, and September were really hot as well. So inflation is going to continue to improve because we're going to continue to replace those really hot reports, even if the figures are warm, cold. It's going to replace a much hotter figure from a year ago, and inflation is going to continue to move down. Mortgage rates absolutely love when inflation goes down. Absolutely love it. Now, why do mortgage rates love when inflation is cooler? Well, mortgages are a type of bond. Okay, when you sign your note, your promissory note at closing, it says, I promise to pay this much at this rate for this length of time. That is a promise to pay. That is a bond. That is a bond. Just like when the government tries to raise capital, when they try to raise funds, they do so by asking people for money. In return, they will pay them interest. That's a bond. That's a promise to pay. So treasuries are a type of bond. Your certificate of deposit, your CD at your bank, is a type of bond. I promise to pay this much for this length of time. Well, bonds hate inflation because when inflation is high, it eats into that fixed rate of return that they offer. If you bought a mortgage-backed security and it was offering to pay you 5%, but inflation is at 6.5%, you're losing money every single month, every single year. You're losing money on that. Your return on investment is not keeping up with the pace of inflation. So inflation is the arch nemesis of bonds. Mortgage rates are a type of bond. They absolutely loathe inflation. As inflation comes down, rates are going to come down. Why did we see such an improvement in rates this month? Well, it's because the mortgage-backed securities market got positive inflation data, that the inflation was slowing down, and they absolutely love that, and rates therefore improved. So we're going to continue to see inflation improving. We're going to continue to see with that rates improving as well. Looking ahead, February is going to be a big month, and it starts tomorrow with a bang. The Fed is meeting once again. The expectations are for the Fed to increase rates by another 0.25%. The hope is that they are then going to stop hiking rates. They are not very good in the kitchen. They either give you a rare hamburger or they give you a burnt hamburger. They don't really do medium well at all. They undercook, they overcook. Bang, bust systems, boom, bust systems. That's all that they do. So Fed is meeting tomorrow. Expectations are for another 0.25% hike. Now, people immediately say, oh no, the Fed's hiking rates, mortgage rates are going to get more expensive. Not the case. When the Fed hikes rates, they're doing so with the intention of slowing down inflation. Inflation decreasing is actually good news for mortgage-backed securities. Not only that, but the Fed's been pretty transparent lately. They are forecasting and they've been projecting, hey, look, 0.25% hike, kind of bake that in. So it's already been anticipated by the markets. It's already widely expected. Fed's going to hike rates again. It's going to continue to slow down inflation. As inflation cools, mortgage rates are going to improve. We should continue to see inflation improving throughout the month of February. It's good news for mortgage rates as well. And then lastly, expect talks of a recession to pick up. A lot of people have been trying to kind of bury their heads in the sand and not pay too much attention to the news in general. I get that. But expect talks of a recession to pick up. You could argue that we're already possibly in a recession. Recessions are backwards looking. By the time somebody comes out and says, all right, we're officially in a recession, it's too late. We've already been in a recession for at least 6 full months. So don't stress too much about that. And real estate actually performs very, very well in recessions. The one exception being the Great Recession of 2008, where the housing market was the virus that caused the recession, not a symptom of it. Okay, so 2008 aside, not doing revisionist history here, but 2008 aside, real estate traditionally performs very well during recessions. Real estate is considered a safer investment. It's concrete, it's tangible, you can live in it. It offers real value. People need a place to live. For most people, it's not a discretionary purchase. It's a purchase that they need, right? So expect talks of a recession to pick up, especially into April, because in April, we're going to get the first quarter GDP. traditionally, if GDP is negative for 2 full quarters, is when they would officially call it a recession. So that's kind of what I'm forecasting ahead. I think we're going to continue to see inflation improving, mortgage rates improving. I think applications for mortgages are going to continue to amp up. And I think we're going to notice kind of a wild spring. I think things are going to get a little bit crazy around here, kind of like we've seen the last couple springs. Anyways, that's it for the monthly recap of January. If you have any questions, let me know. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Appreciate y'all. Bye.